I used to believe you could measure love by mileage. When I met Liam, he was waiting for a latte in Terminal C, grinning at me over the rim of his cup, like the airport was our fate. He told me he liked the white noise of departure boards, the way everyone was on their way to something. He was charming and easy, and I was ready for a story that made sense. I'm 31, cautious but hopeful, and I just moved to the city for a job at a nonprofit. Long distance is fine, he said when I told him I'd be traveling a few times a month for grant meetings. Airports are my second home. He kissed my knuckles and promised he'd never make distance feel like absence. At first, it didn't. He texted good morning and good night like clockwork. He sent photos of lunch bowls and his laptop, scribbled notes and funny airport ads. When I flew out, he'd FaceTime me in hotel rooms at exactly 9:30 p.m., his voice low and warm, like he'd tucked me in. I knew about his ex, Maya. Everyone has an ex. They dated for years and wanted different things. He brushed it off like a chapter he'd shelved. The only reason I knew where she lived, Seattle, was because he mentioned once, offhandedly, that the coffee out there ruined him for anything else. I filed it away with his other harmless trivia. He hates mushrooms, he uses too much cologne, he knows baggage claim like a game show contestant. The first business trip that made me uneasy was his 3-dayer to Atlanta. He sent me a selfie outside a conference center, tie loosened, the signage just visible over his shoulder. Global Logistics Summit. An hour later, my friend Kelsey, who actually works in logistics, texted me a photo of the same hall, closed for renovation. How's Liam seeing a summit in there? I laughed it off. Maybe there was another building, maybe he was early. I asked him about it that night. He didn't miss a beat. Overflow venue, he said. We got shuffled at the last minute. Corporate chaos. I wanted to believe him, so I did. The cracks widened when he signed up for a new airline rewards card. He said he'd been bleeding points switching carriers and wanted to consolidate. He asked me to help him set up the app because he hates forms, and I teased him about the password he chose, variations on his football team, predictable. And then, because we were on my couch and wine sleepy, he let me log into his account while he dozed. I didn't snoop. Not then. I just admired the neat little dashboard, points balance, recent trips, upcoming flights. But his phone buzzed and he rolled over, mumbling, and I saw the banner, "Your upgrade is confirmed for C JFK. C? Seattle?" The app refreshed. Trip added, JFK C, Friday, 8:10 p.m. Seattle wasn't Atlanta. It wasn't anywhere he'd said he was going. My stomach folded in on itself. I locked his phone and kissed his forearm, smiling when his eyes blinked open. "You're magic," he said, not entirely awake. "Love you." "I love you too," I whispered, and the words tasted like metal. I told myself there were reasons. Layovers, tickets booked through weird corporate portals. I told myself that adult relationships required trust. But the next week, when he said he had to rush to Boston for a client dinner, I watched his location dot, the one he'd shared months ago to be cute and safe, glide over Montana. I called him. "Airport Wi-Fi is trash," he said. "I switched carriers. Must be messing with the location." "You're over Wyoming," I said. "I'm in an Uber," he joked. "A really fancy flying Uber." "Say hi to the pilot for me," I said, and we both laughed. But I pressed my tongue into the soft part of my cheek so I wouldn't cry. After that, I started noticing his selfies. The more I looked, the sloppier they became. A reflection of a mountain in a window that looked suspiciously not East Coast. A coffee cup with a Roasters logo I recognized from a Seattle travel blog. An umbrella in the corner of a hotel mirror, even though he claimed the weather was clear blue sky. I didn't realize Boston was so rainy, I texted one night, attaching a screenshot of Seattle's forecast. Random squalls, he replied. New England, man. My grandma used to say, if you're looking for smoke, you'll find a barbecue. I sat with that for a few days, toggling between paranoia and gut certainty, until Kelsey came over with her dog and her blunt kindness. I told her everything. She listened, braided a leash around her fingers, and finally said, "Do you want proof or peace?" "I want both," I said. "I want him to be innocent, and I want to stop feeling crazy." "Then track his miles," she said, literally. We opened his rewards app together. He hadn't changed the password. Under activity, there it was, in sober fonts. JFK, CA. CA, JFK. CC, JFK. The dates lined up with the weekends he'd been stuck in meetings. Points don't lie. They're math with receipts. I went cold. I scrolled further back and saw one trip labeled Companion Redemption. The seat next to his had been claimed by someone on his family list. The app didn't display the name, but it did show a pixelated profile photo. Even blurred, I recognized the shape of a smile I'd seen in tagged photos when I'd let myself creep. Maya, leaning into him at a Mariners game 3 summers ago. Kelsey looked at me, one eyebrow raised. Plan? Confront him, I said, but my voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. Not over text, not where he can spin a story. I want gravity. I booked a flight to Seattle for the same weekend his app said he'd be there. I screenshotted everything. The points ledger, the upgrade notices, the selfies with mismatched reflections, the location data from the shared app. I felt like a detective and a fool, toggling between fury and numbness. Every time I wavered, I imagined him kissing my forehead, telling me not to worry, promising me airports were second homes. I imagined him walking into a different home with someone else. I didn't tell him I was coming. I let him send me a selfie in a generic hotel lobby. No logos this time. Long day, he wrote, crashing early. I sat 3 gates away from his supposed flight, watching the board tick. SAJK, delayed. Passengers began to line up when the delay lifted. I positioned myself near the entrance to the jet bridge, heart beating at a pace I felt in my teeth. He came around the corner with a backpack and a duffel, head down, a baseball cap low, like a man who doesn't want to be recognized. Beside him walked a woman with the kind of easy, familiar proximity that stings even from a distance. Maya. Her hair was shorter than in the photos. She laughed at something he said and tipped her head onto his shoulder for half a second. It was domestic. It was casual. It was not nothing. I stepped into his path. "Fancy seeing you in Boston," I said. His face broke first into surprise, then into something uglier, because he thought fast. "What are you doing here?" he said, and his voice pitched too high. "Catching my flying Uber," I said. Maya paused, eyes flicking between us. confusion turning to understanding in increments. "Liam?" she said. He took a step toward me as if distance could explain anything. "Babe, listen." I held up my phone. "Your points ledger," I said. "Your upgrades. Your companion redemption. Do you want to guess which part of long distance is fine?" Around us, people pretended not to watch, while absolutely watching. A man with a stroller adjusted his headphones. A gate agent straightened a stack of boarding passes deliberately. The fluorescent lights hummed. Maya's lips pressed into a thin line. "You told me you two were done months ago," she said to him. And there it was, the other script he'd been running. "Can we talk somewhere else?" he asked, reaching for my elbow. "Please." "Where's convenient?" I said. "A rental car lot? A different hotel lobby?" A boarding announcement crackled overhead, cheerful and merciless. Liam looked small. He looked 20 years older than he had in Terminal C, when he taught me to love departure boards. "I panicked," he said. "I didn't know how to end things. I didn't want to hurt anyone." "You just wanted to collect points," I said. "2 at a time." Maya swallowed. "You used my miles, too," she said quietly, and the betrayal in her voice made something twist in me. I thought it was romantic, that we were rebuilding. I wanted to hate her, to make her the villain, because that's easier than letting the person you love hold the knife he used. But her shock was real. We were both standing in the same blast radius. "I'm going to board," I said to her, surprising myself, "because my seat isn't next to him." I turned to Liam. "Delete my number." He reached for me again, and I stepped back. A gate agent lifted her chin, the universal airport gesture of boundary and policy. "If you're not boarding, please step to the side," she said, kindness wrapped in procedure. "I'm boarding," I said, "alone." I handed over my pass. Yes, I bought a refundable ticket just to make a point, and walked down the jet bridge. The air was metallic and cool, a wind tunnel of choices. Behind me, I heard Maya say, "We're done," with the calm of someone signing a document. I didn't look back, because the temptation to give him one last look was just a softer version of staying. When the plane doors closed, my hands shook. The seatbelt clicked like punctuation. I watched ground crew in neon vests move in practiced choreography. The tarmac is a place where everything is labeled, where arrows tell you which way to go, where people with orange batons make order out of noise. The irony wasn't lost on me. My phone buzzed, a final message from Liam that I didn't open. I imagined him at the gate, trying to draft a version of events that placed him in the center, as the man who meant well and just got lost. I imagined Maya walking away, head high, recollecting the pieces of her day he'd borrowed. I cried because I missed the promise more than the person, because I'd let myself believe that distance was a puzzle we were smart enough to solve, because I'd learned to read love in numbers, texts sent, calls made, miles flown, when really, love is measured in the choices you make when no one's watching. When we lifted off, the city shrank into dark geometry, and the wing light drew a steady line through the night. I thought about the first time he said, "Long distance is fine," how bravely it landed in me. He wasn't wrong about airports. They are second homes for people who know where they're going. I just chose the wrong person to share a layover with. The narration of the flight, I texted Kelsey, "It's over." She sent back a heart and a pen drop for our favorite diner. I went there, jet-lagged from a flight I didn't need to take, and ordered pancakes I didn't eat. She walked in with her dog leashed outside and hugged me so hard I hiccuped. "Points don't lie," she said into my hair. "Neither do gates," I said. "And if a man asks you to meet him there, ask who else will be waiting." Months later, I still check the departure board when I pass a screen, not because I'm chasing anyone, but because I like the feeling of choosing. I unsubscribed from his rewards emails and booked my own trip, anywhere, a little badge flashing "Solo Traveler." On the tarmac, a ramp agent swung his baton, guiding us into place. I watched the line form beneath us and understood. Some endings don't require speeches. Some happen when the ground crew simply directs you away from what could have been and into the clear.